Welcome to the next video. This is the next video on the Zoom multi-stop pedal MS-70CDR. And today, as you can hear, we are doing some deep ambient space reverbs, exploring the very limits of this pedal. Okay, this, as you've seen in the other series, you know we're working this pedal in with a mixer. We're in the aux loops of the mixer, which gives us more options. That's the only way I'm working this pedal. I can't afford to have a pedal for every synth. So when you put it into aux loops of the mixers, you get to have more than one synth and different levels and different depths. As I explained in the last video, we were doing video 3, we were doing the depth of a stage. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. Right now I've got an even amount of analog signal going through the mixer as I do the effects. Now the effects are digital, so that's why I recommended a mixer, because I get to retain as much analog signal as I want. Now as I turn up the auxiliaries on the mixer, I get to add more digital effects and less analog, but the analog synth is dropping so far back into the background by then that the analog signal isn't that important. But as the analog signal comes forward on the stage and becomes more and more important, I've got a true analog signal going to my recorder, where if I run it directly through the Zoom, it will be mostly digital. Well, it'll be all digital and then converted back into analog to be recorded. So we're saving a step here, and we're preserving the analog signal as much as possible. If you haven't seen the rest of the series, go back and I explain this a lot further, plus I give you diagrams of how it's hooked up. So let's move on to this series. This is the series on making the big reverbs. And this is an inexpensive reverb, but we're going to pull everything we can out of it, because this isn't a preset machine. It can be. You can use the presets on there, but I can guarantee you, you're going to be disappointed. It's when you start making your own algorithms, your own series of modules put together, that you're going to find this much better. So let's start off with my, as you can see, I have a number of these saved. Number 47. Number 48, 49, and 50. I've got all these presets saved for this tutorial. So what you just listened to is number 50, the Space Hole 2. Now what I want to do is I'm going to turn the effects off, go back to my template where nothing's running, so you can hear just the dry analog signal. And our dry analog signal today is coming from the well-known original mini log, not the XD, just the mini log. So there's no effects added. The only effects that can be added on the mini log is delay, and those have been turned off. So on the dry signal to the Zoom, let's see what the original signal sounds like. Now that sequence I designed there is designed for the effects, so it sounds a little choppy and a little not so good. Now let's go right back to the effect that we were on and show you the difference. And there I turn it to dry at the end. And you can see there's a massive difference. We're getting a huge amount of effects and a huge sound design out of just the zoom. So let's go through this first effect that I've been showing you. You haven't heard any of these other ones yet. This one is a combination of three modules, and I'm only using half of the signal, only half of the effects coming through. So before I start, I'm going to go ahead and turn the effects up to a more full wet mix. So we're going to start with it dry, then I'm going to turn the effects on, then I'm going to turn the effects farther up so we get even more of the signal, because you only heard half of what I designed on the zoom. So let's try this again. Start with dry. Now we're going to add the effects of the zoom. And now I'm going to turn those effects up. There's a 75% of the effects. And back down to 50%. So if you're listening very carefully, with half of that analog signal going through and half of the digital effects added to it, we're actually getting a much smoother and a much better sound than all the people that are hooking up their synthesizers directly to the zoom and losing the entire analog signal. So that might be some of the problems why there's such a love-hate to this zoom. The first love-hate that I figured out was the presets. The presets may be good for guitar. I don't know. I never tried them out. I play guitar, but I never tried them out. The presets for synth that come on this is terrible. It's only after you start getting in and designing your own. So let's see what this thing sounds like. Let's see what I used to design this. Now, as you know, as the effects go left to right. The effects go left to right and it's series. Now there's no parallel options. They're only series. So what I included first, and this is a basic rule of reverbs, is to have a natural reverb, you need to take the lower frequencies out. Because lower frequencies do not reflect. And everything gets muddy and nothing sounds natural if you try and add effects to lower frequencies. So the first thing in the chain, the first thing I did is knock out, you can see I knocked out the lower frequencies. The second part of the chain was to use a stereo delay. A stereo delay will practically make a reverb in itself. When you use a short delay with lots of feedback, it practically makes the delay in itself, and it makes the other the other actual reverbs sound much richer and fuller. So that came before the final reverb, which I used the space hole. Now it's probably called space hole because they wanted to say, well, this is our version of Eventide's space reverbs. So what I'm going to do is, as you know in this one, as I click this red light off, it turns that one module off. So I can go through here and show you how I built this up as the sound goes through. So I'm going to turn the space hole off, and I'm going to turn the delay off, And I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to start it, and we'll have a dry signal. So here's our dry signal. Let's add EQ. It's kind of a subtle effect. You probably can't hear it very well. Okay, now we're going to add the delay. And it's a stereo delay, so you're picking up a stereo image now. Because remember, folks, that the mini-log is not a stereo synthesizer. The only way you can get stereo out of it is to use effects. So you can see as soon as I put the delay on, the whole thing opened up. Let's turn that off again. There's a mono synthesizer, all in the center channel. Nothing stereo about it. But as soon as I add the delay, and this is not a ping pong delay that a lot of people use. This is a stereo delay, which means it splits the delay times and feedbacks up between the two left and right channels. So this is a huge improvement right now, but now we're going to go into ambience and turn on, add the reverb at the end. So there's only one reverb, one delay, one EQ. Here we go. Now we're getting into space territory. Alright, let's reverse this. Let's turn it off and go in reverse. Now we only have the EQ and delay. Now we only have the EQ. Now we have the dry signal only. It's not a bad patch on the mini-log, but it would need a lot of help. It would need other synths. You would need to patch this thing over to the left and add another synth to the right. But instead of doing all that work, we're going to just let effects do it all for us. Okay, and that was just one of the examples. So let's go through, and what I did is I used the same delay and the same EQ on every one of these settings. The only difference is the reverb on all of these. So let's go up to a more standard, this kind of a more standard reverb. And I'm using, no. So I'm using a chorus. I forgot, I did put an extra module in on this one. I used a dual reverb. I used a chorus at the end of the chain, and then unchanged. The delay is the same as the last patch, and the EQ is the same. But it's just slightly different. You can see by the picture. The picture is actually representing what I dialed in here on the settings, which is pretty nice. You actually get a picture representation. So it's just a slightly different EQ. Really probably doesn't make that much difference. I was just trying to get some of the harshness out of the high end tuned out. And I said the stereo delay is exactly the same as the last space reverb we just listened to. And now we're using a different reverb, which is a dual reverb, and then I added a chorus on top to get all of this, just to get a little cleaner reverb. So I'm not looking so much for space, but maybe for somebody that just wants to do ambient work, or just, you know, wants everything a little cleaner. So let's listen to this reverb. You can hear a lot more of the synthesizer this time. So you can hear there's a lot more smoothness in this reverb, where it's not mangled up as much as the black hole is doing to it. And there you go. Let's go to the next one. This one uses the mangled space reverb and the standard delay untouched, same as the other ones, and graphic EQ, and you can see it's the same as the one we just played. So let's listen to Mangled Space. Another pretty nice one. You can see how long that tail is. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Let's go on to the next one. At the end of this, I'm going to switch through each one of these so you can see a A-B difference, or A-B-C-D difference between every single one of them. That was Mangled Space. Now let's go to Particle. Particle has a very long drone behind it. So what you're going to hear is a long delay and then a drone coming in. And this one is using the particle reverb. The exact same delay we've been using all along. And here's the EQ. EQ is about the same as what we've been using for the last three. So let's listen to Mangled, or to Particle. All these examples I've been giving you are at 50% reverb on my mixer. So let's go a little deeper on this one. And I'm going to go back to 50%. I think you can all agree that those are some pretty cool reverbs for a very, very inexpensive pedal that you can do far more than you can on the Blue Sky on this one, because you have so much control over it. And I think that's where the love-hate comes from. The Blue Sky, and I have a Night Sky here. I did buy the Night Sky. I spent $450 on a pedal and bought a Night Sky. And I think the reverbs are slightly cleaner, but basically well, I bought the night sky because there's so much control over it. But compared to the blue sky, where it's almost all presets with just a little bit of adjustment, you can get those big reverbs very easy. The zoom, you just got to work with it a little bit more. And as you can see, it doesn't take much. As soon as you add the first two modules, it will enhance what this thing is doing. Now we've got 4 modules on that first one, the big verb. So let's go back to that one, and let me subtract each module as we go. So let's get that active. And on the last, you can see there's 4 modules. Let's take the chorus off. See, we lost a little richness. I turned the dual reverb off. Now the only thing on is the equalizer. Turn that one off. Back on. Delay on. Reverb on. And you have to listen carefully for the chorus. I'm going to turn the chorus off again. As you can see, the chorus is adding a little more stereo image and a little richer sound. Let's try it again. Okay, let's go. Now I'm going to step through each one of these. Now there's going to be a slight delay while I step through these as all the algorithms load up. So for the first few seconds, you're not going to, as soon as I step it from one to the others, it's going to have a short time where it has to catch up. So obviously you can't switch patches in the middle of anything. Well, let's start dry. And we're going to go to the big reverb. And to bangled space. And into particle. Now remember, all of these are 50% effects on my mixer. And then on to the big space effect. Okay, things are getting pretty complex since I have so many presets to show you, these 5, and we're running pretty late on that. So in the next video, I'm going to go through and show you what settings I made. Maybe in the meantime, you can practice on those 3 to 4 modules that I used with your own Zoom and see what you can get. So see you next time.